It doesn't matter because I gotta talk anyway, so there we go. Okay, that's chapter 35. We don't want that. Chapter 34. We're not done with Dinah yet. Poor Dinah. Another one of the voiceless ones in the Old Testament. She never says anything. Wait a minute. It's 34. Oh, there it is. Talking to myself. I have this habit of, it's confusing to people. I'll talk to myself out loud and I won't finish the sentence.
Mhm.
Where did I put and then I'll stop.
Are you related to my wife?
Yeah. Man, have you ever seen, and then I'll trail off and they're just looking at me.
Yeah.
All right.
With that for a while.
We're,
Mike does that when he's talking to other people.
Mike does that when he's talking to other people.
End of the sentence was.
You're supposed to know that.
Right.
Okay, we're in this really strange story. I just said recently that the story of the four wives and the contest between Rachel and Leah was one of the strangest stories in the Bible. But this one's right there.
Yep.
Dinah and the brothers. I've always had like kind of like with Esau, I've always had kind of a bit of sympathy for their situation here.
Yep.
You could call it overreaction or not. It's not an overreaction. I don't know. I don't know. Simeon's gonna get a curse for it, I think. And in Jacob's going through the brothers at the end of the book, like he's gonna get even with Reuben. Reuben's gonna pay the price for something that he's gonna do coming up here in a couple chapters. But you just wouldn't think that you would just wouldn't think that the people of God would have such a sketchy start. And then that, well, it's kind of going to stay sketchy. I've said before, if you're looking for bright spots in the history, what I call the rise and fall of Israel, this is the map we're going to look at today a little bit. Right here. That's how I describe the Old Testament from one vantage point, I guess. Right up here, the rise and fall of Israel. From the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the patriarchal clan, the 12 tribes, all the way through to the second exile, the exile of the southern kingdom of Judah in 587 BC. There will be a return, but it'll be less than glorious. In fact, it'll be so much less than glorious that the people who build the temple will look at it and cry, as I recall. So we'll go back and look at this.
Hang on.
Which is a strange thing to report. That's another one of those stories. Why would you make that up? I mean, if you operate on the premise that this is made up, that these stories are myth, that they're fiction, created long after the events, it's just strange stuff it's a strange history of beginnings if the beginnings being told are backfilling a history. You have the Greek gods, you have the Iliad and so forth. But that's more a commentary on the gods themselves, not on the people. Except that the gods are projections of the characteristics of people. I don't know if you've noticed that with the Greek and Roman pantheons. They got all the vices of the humans who mythologize them. But anyway, we'll go back and look at that stuff in just a minute. Because we're making pretty good time, I think. 34. We're 2/3 of the way through the book, right? 17 times 2 is 34. If you're wondering why the number 17 matters, there are 50 chapters in this book. So 17 chapters is 1/3 of the book, if my math is right.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. So we're talking about Dinah and another threat to the covenant. Dinah was taken by a Canaanite in a Canaanite city. Think of it that way. Dinah is the daughter of Leah, who will, I think, the conclusion I draw from the story of Genesis is considered the
Matriarch.
matriarchal wife. There's four of them. But Jacob considered Rachel number one, but the narrator will lead with Leah, I think, every time.
Well, from Leah comes the decline.
So what we've come through so far, Dinah gets a little curious. Maybe she's tired of all these men, I don't know, but she gets curious about the culture around her, so she wanders. And when she wanders, she gets taken by the son of the chief of the city of Shechem, whose name is Shechem. The chief is Hamor, the father. We don't know how big these cities are. My hunch is they're a lot smaller than you would in your mind think. Don't think of a big metropolis or urban center. But my guess is these are more like settlements. But she gets taken, overpowered by Shechem, and she is still in Shechem's house or Hamor's house. And now there's been this, Hamor has gone to Jacob and he wants to do a deal to get Dinah for his son Shechem, because that's a thing, right? You do this to this woman and then you love her so much you want to marry her. And she's starry-eyed about it because that's what you dream about when you're a young girl. You know,
Do we know that she was starring?
no, I'm being utterly sarcastic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because she's not even mentioned in the contract, she doesn't have a voice.
there's no voice, yeah.
I mean, her name's mentioned, which is odd.
Bill, that's why she's mentioned, because, yeah. And also because of the event that the curses on the brothers.
Yep.
But, Bilhah, Zilpah, almost Rachel, she has very little to say. There's nothing that Rachel says that's commendable. It's the Mandrake story, but it's not like what's your name? Ishmael's mother. Hagar. That's a different thing. But in the case of this family, it's just almost nothing good. There's just nothing good that happens. Nothing good comes from what they do. And it's not going to change until Joseph is in Egypt, really. Now, the next chapter is going to have a dedication of the family. But even that, we're going to time out on that when we get there and talk about this strange statement that Jacob makes. That's kind of surprising. But anyway, so they have this negotiation. They're in the middle of this negotiation. They've done the negotiation. Well, no, they're done. They've agreed to something. The brothers are now there. And you get the sense of these brothers that they have the ability to contain their composure and plot and scheme. They all do that. And so that's what they're going to do while Hamor's talking and him and Jacob are dealing. And that's weird. What exactly is Jacob thinking he's going to do? If the brothers hadn't done what they did, what would Jacob have done? Because all signs indicate that, there's nothing in the text, this argument's from silence, that would suggest that Jacob was going to say, no, I'm not going to give my daughter to you. Look what you did to her. And I'm not going to intermarry with you Canaanites. That's never said by Jacob or anything even approaching it. So I don't know.
And his sons did intermarry with him.
Yeah, it wasn't it's this idea, it's this principle of assimilation where Israel, we'll look at this we're going to look at Judges, not this time probably, but the next time, and how close they came to assimilation into the Canaanite tribes, which of course is not exactly the purpose for which God chose them and gave them the land, to create another Canaanite tribe of idolaters, but That's where it was going until Samuel. But anyway, so they're having this, I don't know what you want to call it, negotiation. Dinah's still back at the house, Shechem's house, which is intolerable to the brothers. And so we're at about verse 13 or so, I think. And Shechem's really excited. I mean, can you imagine? You do this thing and then you show up to the daughter's father's house, to the woman's father's house, and want to negotiate a marriage with her. It's unbelievable, but that's the story. So here's the sons of Jacob's sons, specifically Levi and Reuben. We don't know what the other brothers think yet. They are going to enter the picture in just a minute, but my hunch is they're all in on it. The sons of Jacob answered Shechem and his father Hamor deceitfully because he had defiled their sister Dinah. So you don't know whether he's talking sister in the literal sense of the sister. So this is Reuben and Levi. Did I get that right? Simeon and Levi.
Simeon.
Or sister in the small s sense, all of them. She's the sister of all of them. It's family honor through and through. It's what's at stake here. And they, the sons, plotting, they've already figured out what they're going to do, said, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a disgrace to us. So what's the point? What place does circumcision play in the tribe, in the clan? All the way back to Abraham. What is the point of circumcision?
It's a sign of the covenant.
17? Yeah.
And it pictures something far more than physical circumcision.
Very, very big deal. It's a whole chapter. Look at that. Remember this? Covenant and circumcision. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 times in chapter 17 preceded the birth of Isaac, where Abraham and his entire group are sort of set apart or sanctified to God through this renewal event, where they become not just Abraham, but the entire group becomes his through the covenant of circumcision. That's the meaning of it. So when you talk about Israel's national identity, I've said it many times, it's not unique to me or not original with me. The covenant with Abraham, the law of Moses, which was also a covenant, the land of Canaan, the king of Israel, David, the throne of David, and the temple of Solomon, the temple of God. Those 5 are probably the chief symbols of Israel's national identity. If you remove any one of them, it's very hard for them to understand themselves as the people of God. Pick one and remove it, and it just didn't make sense anymore. And that was their problem at the time of Jesus, because they had a temple, they have the covenant, they have the law, but they don't have the throne of David. And so that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for the coming of the Messiah and the renewal of the nation. And so that's the excitement, the electric air. That's why the air is electric when John appears. Is this the time when we get to renew the nation through God's going to send his appointed king, which he did. But anyway, the role of circumcision then is not just a part of the law of Moses. It preceded Moses. So Moses in the New Testament, you have that statement in Acts chapter 15, when the Jews came down from Jerusalem, where Barnabas and Paul were, and they go to Antioch, that's where Barnabas and Paul were, where it's a Gentile church. And they're requiring that, remember the statement, unless they are circumcised according to the custom of Moses, they cannot be saved. That's Israelite identity. That's the identity of the people of God. But it precedes that. That role of circumcision precedes the covenant with Moses, the Mosaic law, and so forth. What happened at Sinai and then the Levitical code. It's all the way back to Genesis chapter 17, which is only 2 chapters after the covenant with Abraham. They're that interlocked. And so now it's that important. So now you have this awareness that that's the meaning of circumcision. It's the distinguishing sign, signifier, symbol of the identity of the people of God. Now it's front and center in the story of these Hivites. You got the clan of Jacob, you got Israel on one side, and you got the Hivites on the other side. And the thing distinguishing them, as expected in terms of physicality, is the sign of circumcision. On the one side, you have the Israel. Let's just call it Israel. You have Israel and circumcision. On the other side, you have a Canaanite tribe of idolaters and uncircumcision. It's exactly the way that Paul would have thought of it. And so that's front and center. The brothers are going to use that thing against the Canaanites. But you don't know that. Well, boy, we're risking a lot here because they're moving closer and closer to this idea of assimilation. If these people get circumcised, allowing them now to fuse with Israel, there is no Israel. It's assimilation. That's the role of circumcision here. It's the signifier of one people. That was the point with Abraham and his whole group. Everybody gets circumcised, including the servants and Ishmael. All of them, everybody. It signifies a unity right there in a way, in some way. So now you're going to bring the Hivites into that. So that's what's at stake here. The eradication of national identity before there is even a nation. So the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and his father Hamor deceitfully because he had defiled their sister Dinah. And they said to them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a disgrace to us. You almost get the sense of the blessing that Jacob stole in his words of deceit with Isaac. Only on this condition will we agree with you to become one people, essentially. That you will become as we are. Look at that language. That's what they're offering. They're offering assimilation deceitfully. We agree to unify with you, Hivites. If you do this thing, if you take on our sign, defiling the sign itself, which is supposed to be the signifier of the uniqueness of the separation of the boundary marker, like the other symbols of Israel's national identity, the boundary marker around the people of God, marking them off as the people of God. That you become as we are, if every male among you be circumcised. Verse 15. Then assimilation can happen. We will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to ourselves. And we will dwell with you and become one people. But if you will not listen to us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and we will be gone. So they sort of sweeten the deal. Hey, you won't just get Dinah. We'll share our stuff with you. We'll make you richer. So they're offering something to not just Shechem. They're offering a way for the whole city, the whole people group of the Hivites there to become a greater people. It's an offer they can't refuse. And Jacob's sons know that. Where is Jacob?
Yeah, that's the question. Why is the sons deal with it instead of Jacob?
Where is Jacob in this thing? Is he sitting quietly?
Yep.
I have no idea. He ain't talking. It also indicates there's more than a daughter there, right? But they're thinking about the future. When he says, we will give our daughters to you and your daughters you can give to us, they're talking about down through the ages, posterity wise. We never heard about the sons getting circumcised, by the way, that I recall.
No, we didn't.
Let's see. Jacob plays no part in this weird scenario, and neither does Dinah. Dinah's over in Shechem. Hamor and Shechem came to Jacob, so there's separation. Notice they didn't bring the daughter with them. They didn't bring the daughter back and give her back to Jacob and then say, hey, look, you know, I don't know, no harm, no foul. Let's start over here. My son would like to marry your daughter. They didn't do that. They kept the daughter back in the city. So if they're going to get the daughter back, they're going to do something like what is about to happen. Or there's going to be some kind of conflict. I wouldn't want to go to war with these they don't, these are guerrilla fighters. They're not, this is what you could call kinetic or fourth generation warfare where there's no front. You know, when these state actors and terrorist actors want to go to war with the United States now, they don't create a line and start shooting at us over the line. They hack our banks or, you know, our power grid or that Colonial Pipeline, which became a victim of ransomware a number of years ago. That's warfare now. It's terrorism. It's what and that's really interesting too. The Israelis can fight both. In 2025, the Israelis can fight a traditional nation state war where there's a front and you have tanks on both sides and so forth. They can do that. That was all the wars between 1948, including 1948. All the wars between the Arabs and the Israelis were front wars. But they can also do that kinetic fourth generation warfare, which was the thing with the pagers.
Yeah.
Where they intercepted the pagers that were going to be delivered to Hezbollah, and they planted explosive devices in all of them. And then they signaled the pager, mimicking the commander. I think the commander of Hezbollah. So everybody had to answer, and they knew it. So here's your commander. Everybody picks up their pager at the same time. So that it's not like one goes off and the warning goes out, don't pick up your pager. Everybody picks their pagers up and those pagers just explode. And that's what they did. And so, you know, it's like 3,000 or something. That's kinetic warfare. We don't care where you are. We don't need to be on your side of the line. We will reach into your city and your pocket and blow you up. That's kinetic warfare. And that's what's going on. There's no front here. So anyway, I don't know how relevant that was. It was just such a fascinating example of kinetic or fourth gen. Those terms are not interchangeable, but they're part of the same thing that's going on today. As a former Navy guy, I'm interested in that stuff.
You know, as we're considering this, I can't help but to think about the one other story that I can think about that had such rape involved in the scripture, and that would be David's son Ammon with his sister Tamar.
Yeah.
And at least Shechem was more honorable than Ammon was, who despised her after he raped her. You know,
Yeah, you're giving Shechem a lot of latitude there.
well, I said more honorable. I didn't say he's honorable. I said more honorable.
Yeah, I'm not going to give him any credit. If he'd have got credit a little bit, if he'd have walked her back to her father,
Yeah.
begged for forgiveness, and paid some kind of restitution, that would be a 20th century BC way of their idea of reclaiming her honor or something like that. But he didn't even do that.
Probably got rid of her the rest, probably. The cars and everything else.
All right. Let's see. The word, they had exactly the response everybody wanted. Their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son Shechem. And the young men did not delay to do this thing. They're moving. Strange thing to be excited to, I don't know, do to yourself. If that's what they did. Excuse me. I don't know how this works. Who does who? I don't know. Do you do? How does this
I'm
work?
pretty sure they didn't trust some of the patient to do the normal procedure.
Did not delay to do this thing because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. And then there's this interesting statement. I'm going to maybe go back and look at the King James Version translation of this. Now, he was the most honored of his father's house. And there's a translation of this is misleading in the King James Version. Verses at 18 or so.
Yeah. 19.
The young man deferred not to do the thing because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. But if you look at any of these other translation, the honor part is from the vantage point of the people in the city. So I think the point is, he was the one with the real stature and power or something in Shechem.
Kind of like the crown prince.
Yeah, I don't know about Hamor, but that's how I think this went. There's so many there's so many interesting translations in King James and all this stuff right now. Should go back and look for them. Get a top 10 or something. Let's see. So Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city and spoke to the men of their city, saying, "These men are at peace with us. Let them dwell in the land and trade in it, for behold, the land is large enough for them." That sounds like they're above board. They want to have a real meeting of the minds here, right? Let us take their daughters as wives, and let us give them our daughters. There's the statement of assimilation. Only on this condition will the men agree to dwell with us, to become one people, when every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised. Seems like a small thing if you're going to gain a lot. Will they gain a lot? Or are they really being magnanimous here? And hey, it's mutually beneficial. So yes, this will be good for everybody. Let's find out. Will not their livestock, their property, and all their beasts be ours? Only let us agree with them, and they will dwell with us. So their intent in this deal, if Simeon and Levi are just one step ahead, if Simeon and Levi are dealing deceitfully on the side of Shechem, their plot is, yeah, we'll go ahead and agree to do this, and then we're going to end up with everything. They'll assimilate, and we'll be able to just take everything. Or will they? And all who went out of the gate of his city listened to Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised. All who went out of the gate of the city. So, oh boy, this isn't looking good. At this point, you go, well, we're all in now. So whatever you thought before, something's got to be done here, because the Israelites are on their way to some total assimilation and takeover by it's like a hostile. Is there such a thing as a hostile bee colony taking over another bee colony? It'd be kind of like that, although in that case they kill them all, don't they?
Yeah, like wasps.
Yeah.
And he's eating all of the bees.
More like the cuckoo bird. You plant one in the nest, and he kicks all the other ones out. Or I can stop trying to make analogies for this stuff. Stands on its own. Okay. deception everywhere. It's been deception since before Jacob was born. It's been deception. All right. I don't have any more to say about that. On the third day, when they were sore, two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, stop. The question is, how many of the sons of Levi were involved in the plot in the first place? Or sons of Jacob, excuse me, yes. I don't know.
I'm thinking Simeon and Levi didn't tell anybody else what they were doing, because, you know, some of the other brothers would have joined in with another thing.
There's a statement coming that might indicate otherwise. We'll get to it in a minute. Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, sons of Leah, took their swords and came against the city while it felt secure and killed all the males. They killed Hamor and his son, Shechem, with the sword and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went away. Man, you can say what you want, but so far, they got what they deserved. That's how I read it. Now, what about the rest of the brothers? They went away. That's what it says right there. Simeon and Levi took her and went away. Then the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because they had defiled their sister. So which sons of Jacob? That sounds more general.
Yeah.
They took their flocks and this sounds like the conquest of Canaan, where you wipe it out. They took their flocks and their herds and their donkeys and whatever was in the city and in the field, all their wealth and their little ones, all their little ones and their wives, all that was in the houses, they captured and plundered. That sounds like the conquest.
Except in the conquest, didn't they kill all the wives and children?
Yeah.
They're supposed to.
They didn't do it, but they were supposed to. Different times. Harsh. But that's how you reclaim honor, I guess, in that day. And I don't, except for the obvious foreshadowing, prefiguring of the conquest, I don't really have anything more to say about that. I mean, if you go back and look, where's a good passage there? Nathan, on the orders by God to what they're to do. Where was a good one?
I would think it'd be in Numbers or Deuteronomy, but that 2017, we should devote them to the complete destruction.
Yeah, you shall devote them to complete destruction, the Hittites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. And so now, 500 years earlier, long before this, you have this anticipatory event that prefigures exactly this event, when the Hivites are supposed to be basically exterminated. And you get it here in this one city. I don't know what a Hivite was. I don't think anybody else does either.
So they didn't wipe them all out.
No, they were Hivites. They weren't just Shechemites. It wasn't, you know, they were of the ethnic group of Hivites or whatever that is. But also these Jebusites, they will last until David. Yeah, I don't know that they ever left. They had David will buy a little plot of ground to build an altar. When he makes a mistake and gets a bunch of Israelites killed and he has to offer a sacrifice to God to stay the angel's hand, he will buy land. He will buy this plot from a Jebusite in Jerusalem, which was known as,
Jerusalem was controlled by the Jebusites.
It was. In Judges, and you'll see it in Judges, it's called Jebus, not Jerusalem. Or yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
I was thinking, I was thinking the wrong group, I was thinking they were the group that made a deal with Joshua, but that was the Gideon.
Yes,
Yeah.
Gibeonites. Gibeonites.
which figures through a whole bunch of narrative after that. The Gibeon is gonna last a long time, and it gets a lot of narrative for a Canaanite city, Canaanite people.
But there's a similarity between them and the Jebusites. In the sense that they continue to last on.
Okay. So that's the story so far. Then Jacob, so now that it's over, in my view, all the brothers pitched in. But anyway, Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have done the honorable thing. Thank you for bringing back my daughter. I appreciate it. You probably went too far. It probably wasn't necessary, but I appreciate your heart. No." Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me stink to the inhabitants of the land. The Canaanites and the Perizzite." Now he begins to list the very nations, the very peoples that are going to be, that God is going to tell them to exterminate hundreds of years later. In case that sounds harsh, it is harsh. But these were all, not only were all these peoples idolatrous, there's lots of evidence that they were engaging in child sacrifice and so forth as well. My numbers are few. Yeah, but man, they pack a punch, says Simeon and Levi. "And if they gather themselves against me and attack me, I shall be destroyed, both I and my household." Well, except for all that stuff God said before about what he's going to do. But they said the rhetorical question that there's only one way to answer. Should he treat our sister like a prostitute? It's actually worse than that. You paid a prostitute. So there was an exchange. This was not that. But the story ends with this rhetorical question. So where is the condemnation of Simeon and Levi from the vantage point of the narrator, the person writing? Jacob, yes, but not the narrator. This is the way that he ends it. He ends it with Simeon and Levi giving the rebuke, rebuking their father for not understanding what was at stake from their vantage point.
Of course, the narrator is a Levite. But,
Yeah.
You know, that's a strong point. They were the kinsman redeemers in this situation. They were the avengers of blood. They, you know, if the law had been applied already, they would have had the right, according to the law of Moses, to kill Shechem.
Yeah.
That's as far as they could have gone, Shechem.
Yeah.
But they did have that. right.
Well, all the rest of the city was in a plot against Jacob's.
Yeah.
Everything Jacob had. So anyway, I've always been much more sympathetic or empathetic. What they did makes sense to me. And what are you going to do? Leave the rest of them? You kill Shechem? And you kill Shechem, leave, and you're going to go over there? I don't think so.
What they did as far as their actions, yes, it makes sense, but having tricked them deceitfully into the other.
You get the sense that after they were circumcised, they were not going to be able to be left alive. Because it would dilute down the meaning of the sign. So once they agreed to do it, that was almost kind of like a divine death sentence. When they agreed to be circumcised.
You also get the sense that circumcision was not an unknown thing.
No, yeah, everybody knew, yeah. So that's the story of Dinah. I hope that what's come through loud and clear is that it represents It is not an example of, it is not told to tell you an example of treachery or something like that. It is told to foreshadow the threat of assimilation and intermarriage, and it prefigure in the story the eventual destruction of tribes like the Hivites or ethnic groups like the Hivites. That's the reason that it's here.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the big picture of the history of Israel and the law of God, there was a standard by which the Gentiles could assimilate into Israel.
Yeah.
And they had to be circumcised. But they also had to give a commitment that your God's gonna be my God.
Yeah.
But there's never a standard by which the people of Israel could assimilate into another culture.
So that's that. Anybody wanna,
The blessing in chapter 49, or Jacob like blessing his sons,
Yeah.
is that of God or is that not of God? Like,
what's the difference in Genesis?
if it was said in the spirit of God, then like it seems to be prophetic.
I don't think there's any other way to read it.
Yeah. It's definitely prophetic, so it must be of God.
So it seems in this like blessing, it condemns what Simeon and Levi did.
Yeah.
Saying that it was evil.
Yeah. Yep, that's the trouble with it, yeah. Jacob curses, cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what happened.
Simeon got, if you ever seen a map of,
So it's like understandable what Simeon and Levi did, but I don't think they really have a leg to stand on before God
No.
in terms of.
no, I'm just telling you what I think it means, and it's this idea of the dangers of assimilation and intermarriage and the prefiguring of the conquest. And that I can understand what they did. I can see that. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe it's the extent of it. If it had only been Shechem, maybe he wouldn't have cursed him.
There was no God in this for them. These are not, we'll find out in the next chapter. It's not like these are all God worshiping. This is not a God worshiping family. Jacob, yes, but the family itself, no. That's not going to happen for a long time. The next chapter is going to be kind of this renewal ceremony, this renewal chapter for the group. But when you watch their behavior after that, with Judah and Tamar, well, not just Judah and Tamar, then Judah's sons, and the graphic story of the three sons, two of whom God kills, which leads to the story of Judah and Tamar. You know, he's going out, he's nasty. Reuben kind of comes in there and tries to save Joseph and fails. But you get the sense even there that the reason he tried to do it surreptitiously, you'll see when the story comes. When they've had enough of Joseph, Judah stands up and his solution is, let's just kill him. Let's just kill Joseph. We're sick and tired of him. And then Reuben says, well, let's just throw him in this pit here. It's a well that's dry. We'll just throw him in this pit here. We shouldn't kill him. He's our brother. Yeah, you're right. We won't kill him. Let's just throw him in the pit.
Yeah, throw them there and let's start with this.
So they threw him in the pit. Judah wanted to kill him, and then they went back and ate while he's over here screaming in this pit. Because later in the story, the brothers are going to say, didn't we hear his screams while all of this was going on? And they're going to sell him to Midian. They're going to pull him out, not take him back. They're going to sell him to traders. They're going to take him down to Egypt. And they go on their merry way. That's the family. And it's not going to be until the very end, when they get to Egypt, that something's changed for them. But before that, I had nothing good to say about them. Any of them, any of them?
Maybe Joseph.
Joseph, once he gets to Egypt, even before Egypt.
Even before Egypt, he was getting, visions from God.
Yeah, but that's not to his credit. That's to God's credit. That's God telling you what he's going to do. But the guy's running around bragging about himself and, we'll get to the dreams. But anyway, you're right. Yeah, there's curses in here, and right here clearly Jacob pronounces a curse against them, which comes true. Simeon will end up disappearing. This is kind of guesswork, but here's Judah. Simeon will just kind of disappear into Judah as a tribe. It's gone. And Levi doesn't get a land allotment, although he gets a nice recovery because God himself will be the Levites' possession, which will be terrible for them ultimately to not have the land, because as we'll see next time, during the period of the Judges, when it all kind of collapses and disintegrates and they come this close to assimilation again, the Levites, because they have no land, it's not on this map, they ended up as kind of a wandering they're wandering nomads, hiring themselves out.
And we're scattered throughout all of them.
They were, that's how bad it got for them. And a very important story figures into that, which we'll look at, but that's the sad situation. But I agree with you.
What's amazing to me is that they kind of managed to allow them to circumcise them and put themselves in danger.
Yeah. Jacob's deceptive blood runs deep, and it's
Now, I don't think that the sons of Israel were performing the circumcision.
no. That's what makes it particularly from the Israelite standpoint. They're going to do this to themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to do all the heavy lifting. Enthusiastically. They did not delay. They couldn't wait to do this thing.
You get the idea that there's some time that passed between chapter 33 and chapter 34, because the indication is that most of the children were on the younger side in 33 when he's dealing with Esau. And but here they seem to be grown men.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. And we'll get into, now that that's over with, it's all free and clear. It's all clear sailing, right?
Yeah,
It's going to be happy. Now they got their daughter back, and they're going to go build a great people of God in the land of Canaan. Sure. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and stop.
I don't think there was ever a time where it's clear sailing.
No.
Maybe under David, maybe.
Nope. For a little while under David. Okay, I'm done.